All right. Matt, the mortgage guy. In today's video, I'm going to talk about recession. Why Wall Street analysts, why economists, why everybody seems to be talking about a recession coming in 2022 and 2023. I'm going to answer three simple questions. What is a recession? Why is everybody talking about it coming? What indicators are they watching? And how and if and when it's going to affect real estate. All right, Matt, the mortgage guy here, residential mortgage broker. I talk to consumers all day, every day, mostly related to real estate and the purchase of real estate. So I follow real estate advisors. I follow other mortgage advisors. I follow the consumer. I follow the news. I follow the economy to try to bring to you in a simple fashion what I'm seeing, hearing, and feeling about the real estate market. Right now, the trending topic, the hot thing seems to be recession. So first off, let's just define the broad definition of a recession, right? And so on Wikipedia or whatever the heck this is, a period of temporary economic decline during which trade and industrial activity are reduced, generally identified by a fall in GDP in two successive quarters. The economy starts to turn down. That's what all that fancy word means. Two successive quarters of negative GDP, recession, right? So that's what a recession is. The economy slows down. Forget all the fancy words, right? The economy slows down. Why do we think it's coming? A couple indicators, which all the smart people watch and listen to, and they're pretty good indicators, right? There's one indicator that over the last 75 years has been right like every single time. When inflation is above 4% and unemployment is below 5%, within 2 years, we see a recession. And I think that has held true like every single time over the last 75 years. So when economists point to that stat and they say, hey, look, we've got inflation at 8% and our last reading of unemployment was like 3.6%, we're there, right? Those indicators indicate that in 6 to 12 months or 6 to 24, I believe, we're going to see a recession, right? Another one is the inversion of the yield curve and fancy, like there's a 2-year and there's a 10-year treasury. When those invert, that is another sign that we're going to see a recession. That happened. And the data is pretty clear there going back decades and decades that when that happens, we're going to see a recession. So that's what a recession is. The indicators that we're watching. More importantly, for the viewers of this channel, I believe, and any consumer that I'm talking to, is what does that mean for real estate? Because you can be on YouTube and you can be somebody who's predicting whatever the heck you want to predict. You use a big scary word like recession, people are going to listen, and people are generally going to believe, like, look at these indicators. This indicates recession. The housing market's going to crash. The sky is falling. Well, here's something I want to look at. And I'll put a graph up that shows you over the last 40 plus years, right? My whole lifetime. What has happened to real estate during a recession? Now, I think the thing that people get a little bit misconstrued about is that the last recession was the housing crash. It was caused by all these inefficiencies in housing and mortgage and financial policy. Like, it was a disaster, right? Like, the financial crisis caused this recession. So it doesn't surprise me that real estate declined. But if you go back and you look at early 2000s, early 90s, early 80s, all these other periods of recession, what you see is early 2000s, recession, real estate prices increased. Early 90s, recession, real estate prices were flat. Early 80s, there was a couple different recessionary periods in there, and we've got flat home prices in one of them and increasing home prices in the other. I think the stat that I've seen is that over the last 8 recessions, The financial crisis of, the late 2000s was the only one in which real estate home prices decreased. So I think the moral of the story for folks is when you hear the word recession, don't relate it to real estate prices going down. Don't expect real estate prices to go down just because we enter a recessionary period. There's a lot of other factors that are going into play. Mainly the one that I keep harping on this channel is supply and demand. That one is something that is going to affect real estate prices more than this, in my humble opinion, right? And so I think it's an interesting topic to talk about, to discuss. Any thoughts, comments, whatever you have, please leave them down in the comments. I know when I talk about anything to do with the real estate market, whether it's going to crash, whether it's going to go up 20%, there's always interesting comments. There's always people on both sides. I'd love to hear your take. I'd love to hear things that you think are missing from my argument, but it's really not an argument. It's really just a, hey, let's take a look and let's see what happens during recessions. One good thing for the folks listening, the folks that are big fans of low mortgage rates, is that a good thing that comes out of recessions is monetary policy is usually eased to boost the economy. So let's say that, the economy goes into a recessionary period, and this is like mid 2023. All these Fed rate hikes we've seen, all these things that we've seen that have tightened monetary policy, the Fed is going to have a little bit of, breathing room now to rewind that, in essence, right? To loosen back up monetary policy, to pull interest rates back down, which stimulates the economy, right? That pulls mortgage interest rates down. And so if you listen to my 2022 forecast, where I leaned on my buddy Barry Habib and some of his predictions, the Fed is being aggressive and doing what they need to do to tame inflation right now. If that leads us into a recession, which a lot of people think that it will, in order to come out of that recession, monetary policy is going to have to essentially flip. Layman's terms, the Fed is going to have to reverse course on everything they're doing that's pushing mortgage interest rates up and bring them back down. It's going to increase consumer home buying power and make homes more affordable if they do pull back and bring interest rates back down. And that's a real possibility for late 2022, early 2023, depending on how soon we move into a recessionary period. So just something to chew on, just something to think about. Are we going to see a recession? Leave your comments on that down below as well. I'd love to hear it. There's a lot of folks out there screaming recession, recession, recession. So I guess, as I always say, we gonna see. If you have any questions, comments for me or my team, you want to get yourself pre-approved, please feel free to reach out. Go to greatmortgagebroker.com, fill out the quick form, let us know where you're at, how we can help. And I guess, in terms of recession and what that's going to look like if it happens in the end of 2022 or sometime in 2023, the only real answer is we gonna see.